audio feed there for just a moment. So you are back. So please go on. You had just said, I'm going to piggyback off of Amy. Data rate shifting was a big aha moment for me as well. And then everything froze. So let's pick up from there.
Landon was nodding his head. So I assume everybody on the Zoom actually heard what I said.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just making sure my audio is still working. Cool. I'll start over. It was going so well, Tom. I was saying really amazing things. I had people agreeing with me. It was awesome. So we'll try it again.
Everybody pretend you're hearing her for the first time, okay?
Everybody on the other end is pretending that they're going to hear me. Not even pretending. Okay. So the idea is, I'm piggybacking off of Amy here. Like, this idea of rate shifting was an aha moment for me. This concept that you can apply an electrical signal to a magnet, and that actually changes this sort of like mysterious physical thing that's happening to send a message across space and time that can then be received and understood, is like, it's mystical. Like it's one of those things that, like, when I learned it, I believe it because there's evidence that it works, but it's still sort of this, like, I can't see it sort of faith thing that causes me to be like, and it's like the rise and fall of empires comes across these, this thing that we all kind of understood and have learned to control. Families are able to communicate with each other because of the work that we do and because we understand the physics of this thing. And so to me, like, it's not necessarily like how I do my job, but sort of the understanding of the power of wireless is really one of those, like, sort of life-altering moments.
Awesome. I'm with you right there for sure. Anyone else want to share something?
If I could chime in, can you guys hear me?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So coming from the routing and switching world, one of the kind of rite of passages for considering yourself knowledgeable and being able to be a good troubleshooter is understanding the three-way handshake. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what Landon was referring to, is understanding that state machine in the wireless realm and how the two devices, the access point and the client, communicate with each other to create that connection. So, understanding the open authentication, the association, the second authentication, and that four-way handshake, and what happens after that four-way handshake. All those things play a part in understanding how things work and how connections are created. And if you don't understand that part of it, you're going to be in trouble when you go to troubleshoot. So I think those things are really critical to understand.
Absolutely. All right. Anyone else want to share? I mean, does the last person want to share?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate what everybody else said. Probably the best thing I ever did early in my career is I taught myself 802.11 frame analysis. I bought like the first version of Air Magnet Protocol Analyzer, and I now use Wireshark mainly, but especially with 802.1x, there was just a lot of bad information out there in the early days. So I got all the RFPs. I set up every type flavor of EAP out there, and just looked at the frame exchanges and made myself learn it. And so to me, Wi-Fi is layer 1 and layer 2. You need to understand that both of those, obviously, but it was looking at all the frame exchanges that really kind of opened up my eyes early on in my career.
Absolutely. And, I agree. And one of the things for me about wireless is I haven't always worked in wireless. I started out on a wired network in the 90s, Banyan Vines. Eventually we evolved to TCP/IP, and it was a mixture of an environment that eventually went Windows NT Server, lots of nodes, lots of locations around the country, but no real wireless yet at that point. And then I started my own consulting, and I really didn't start working on wireless until the early part of the last decade, around 2001, 2002. I started doing some wireless projects for the first time. And to me, with wireless, the thing that got me about it was so cool. It's cool. I'm sorry, it's really cool, and I love the fact that, as Jesse was saying, you can't see it, but it's happening, and you can prove it on both ends, and it's just this wonderful miracle of electromagnetic waves, and that launched me from my big light bulbs. It launched me into going back and not studying wireless communications at all, but going back and studying physics and wave theory, and I decided I wanted to go into that side of things and get really deep under that hood and then bring myself back up. And then my next big idea or aha moment, my threshold moment, was exactly what a lot of you have also said, and that's the frame analysis, getting to that level and saying, I want to know what's really going on this network. And when you do that, it's funny, isn't it? If you guys had this experience, and you can just nod if you want, you found out that a lot of the books were wrong? Have you had that happen yet?
Yeah.
No, not Dave's book. I'm saying in general.
No, everybody has written wrong stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, it's when you go under the hood and you start looking at the frames, you're like, wait, that's not how these books say it works. And you find out they're actually wrong in some cases. They're giving colloquial knowledge. So going deep like that helps to reveal a lot of really cool information. Love it.
That's true.
All right. I think I know what the answer is probably going to be for this for a lot of you, but maybe some of you it was different. But the next topic is exams. In your opinion, what's the most challenging exam in the CWNP pool that you have tackled so far?
I'll jump in first. I think I might be the only person without a CWNE on this panel, but I've only taken 3 of the 4 exams necessary, and so thus far, I would say CWNA is probably the most challenging because of the depth of or the broadness of information that you need to know. Not so much going as deep, but just the amount of topics that you have to kind of study for. I'm assuming that once I get to the CWAP exam, that it's definitely going to be a big challenge. And I can see CWSP becoming more difficult, especially with some of the newer things that are coming out, like WPA3 and things of that nature. So I'll defer to other folks as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Keith.
I'll jump in there. Definitely CWSP for me. Certificates are hard and EAP types and all that. It's just a lot to keep straight, a lot of nuances, a lot of practice, and a lot of looking at the frames and understanding and just holding a lot of information. I found it to be a challenge in that one.
Gotcha. And that is, for me, it was one of the more difficult for me too, because before I ever joined CWNP, I'd gone through all of the certifications and written books for them. I had to not only take the test, but I had to write a book to cover the test and figure out how to explain it all along the way. And probably CWSP was one of the more challenging ones early on, just because of all the details. And when you're studying, what are you doing? I mean, let's be honest. We can say this openly. Many times we feel like, I don't know how deep I need to go into this. How much do I need to study? How much do I need to learn? And so that's the reality of any certification exam we ever take. And so we step back and say, how well do I have to know for certificates for this thing? How well do I have to know these? And therefore, there's that challenge too along the journey. And that's why, thankfully, a lot of people that have been on the journey for years or have taken multiple versions of the exam, involved in writing books and things like that, does help to whittle some of that down for us. What about the rest? What about the rest of you? Challenging exams for you? They were all just easy, weren't they? No problem.
I think the CWNA, because it was like learning a whole new language, kind of like what Keith was saying. It wasn't that any particular beat of the topic was more technical than the other. It's because I had to constantly flip back for acronyms, for terms, even equations at some points. But I think technically CWICP is going to really give it a fight for its money as far as the technicality of other tests like CWAP.
What? There are only 10 protocols in there.
Just 10 wildly different PHYs and frequencies.
Well, in fairness, to make people feel a little safer, a lot of them are based on 802.15.4. So as far as Phi and Mac, they're really only about, I think, 6 in there. So that might help break down the fear a little bit. But there are a lot. All right. And of the others, what do you think? Jesse, did
I'll
you
jump
have a
in very
challenging one?
quickly.
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead.
Okay, very quickly. Sorry, Jesse, didn't mean to interrupt. Just pretty much what everybody else is just saying. In the early days, I would say CWSP was the hardest. Now I'd probably say for CWAP is probably the hardest. But in general, I hope they're all hard, quite frankly, and they kind of do get harder because, let's be honest, in the early days of Wi-Fi was pretty easy. Wireless Wi-Fi keeps getting better, but it keeps getting more complex. And also to your point too, it's not just Wi-Fi. There's now all the new IoT protocols as well. And I commend the program for venturing into that segment of the industry as well.
Excellent. Thank you. A quick question before we go, Jesse. Did you ever take that CWNE exam that lived for a very short window of time? I think if that one had survived.
Nobody remembers it.
Yeah, I think if that one had survived, everybody would agree. Yes, that's the most challenging one. All right, Jesse, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, honestly, Tom, I'm not sure I have anything new to add to the conversation. All the things that everybody else said.
Yeah. And the thing is, so to go back to the beginning, my prediction was that you'd probably say CWNA, because believe it or not, when you actually pool everybody out there, most of the people, the largest majority say CWNA is the most challenging. It's that first big bite, right? That's a big part of it. And so it's that first one, and they remember that as being the most challenging, and it gives the supporting information that you need for the other ones. So it really kind of makes sense when you step back and think about it. And then probably CWAP is second and CWAP SP is third in my informal polling I've done over the years. All right, we're going to wrap things up here at the end with a quick question. Thinking about the people, you've mentored people, you were mentored by people. What advice would you give? I think we could all say, be willing to be mentored and be willing to be a mentor. But other than that, what advice would you give someone that's just starting out in the industry? Maybe it's something you've already said and you feel like that's the best advice you can give. Maybe there's something new, but let's go around and give each person the chance to do that. We'll start with Mr. Coleman this time.
Sure, that's pretty easy. Number one, I think we've all touched on the mentoring and surrounding yourself with smart people and people in the industry. Attend these conventions. The other big advice I'd say is get hands-on. Get your hands and get real world experience. Start playing with APs, play with the management systems, learn one of the predictive modeling tools, learn packet analysis, learn how to use a spectrum analyzer, and get out there and touch things and configure things. Nothing. I'm an author of books, but nothing beats real world experience. And then the last final thing I'll just say, there's just so much opportunity in this field. I can promise you there are way more opportunities, especially here in the United States. There are way more opportunities for people with Wi-Fi and wireless networking skill sets than there are qualified people. So even if you're just getting started, I promise you there's opportunity. And if you have drive, you will be successful and you will make money.
Oh, that last part's nice. Thanks, Dave. Landon.
I kind of want to build on that, actually. He segued into it nicely. Get out there. My advice would be to always bite off slightly more than you think you can handle, and then put in the grit after that to rise to the occasion. Because, imposter syndrome is a big thing here. And before that comes not thinking that you're up to the task. So if you just go ahead and keep moving through it, you're going to get to the point where A, you're overwhelmed and you're working 20-hour days. So be careful. But B, where you're more successful than you thought you would be. So get out there and do that. You don't have to believe in yourself, but you do have to act like you do.
All right, Landon, thanks. Jesse.
Yeah. it's funny because we keep actually segueing into each other unintentionally. I swear we didn't practice this, but so mine is sort of like learn the basics, right? Like get an understanding of the physics, get an understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. Gather as many resources as you can. Listen to your mentors. Don't pretend like you know it all. I think that there's sort of this like, for whatever reason, in this community in particular, that we really value expertise. But we also, I think that's sort of the top crust there. Like that's the layer that everybody sees. But in reality, what we really value is curiosity and passion. And I think that if you are kind of running headlong into, I'm going to pretend like I know all the things, it leaves you not asking questions. And it's those questions that really drive understanding and also like drive the sense of community. So it's that sort of that vulnerability to be like, I am in the process of learning. And I think probably even Dave could say like, I'm in the process of learning, right? And he's been doing this since the dinosaurs were walking. So just joking. But ultimately, like being a wireless engineer or having a passion for wireless is a journey and not a destination. And being vulnerable enough to ask the questions and open enough to recognizing that you could be wrong, and that you're always in the process of learning is absolutely critical to, number one, being a part of this community, and number two, like forging forward.
Excellent. Thank you, Jesse. Excellent information. Keith.
I just want to echo that everything that everyone else has said so far, I definitely agree with. I'm going to try to go a little bit outside of the box just so we have different perspectives, but be willing to sacrifice. I would say hands down, some of the biggest opportunities that I've had have come over the last couple of years when I made myself willing to make some sacrifices, whether that be relocating, whether that be taking opportunities that I wasn't sure I was ready for, studying late at night after a long work day or work week, on the weekends. You have to be willing to make sacrifices. It's just the nature of the job. IT is just one of those career fields where you cannot punch out at the end of the day and go home and enjoy things, your other extracurricular things. Obviously, it's good to have other aspects of your life to provide balance, but you're going to spend a lot of your extra personal time kind of moving that ball forward through your career. So just be willing to make some sacrifices.
Excellent. Thanks, Keith. And finally, Amy, you can bring us home.
Well, I agree with everything that everyone has said. It's all really good advice. And I guess I would add that don't limit yourself to just understanding wireless. It doesn't work by itself. There's a whole network there, and you don't have to understand all of networking and voice and security, all of it at a deep level, but you do need to understand, even at a basic level, how that interaction and integration is working. So if you limit yourself just to wireless, troubleshooting is going to be way more difficult than if you actually understood how the network is working as a whole.
Excellent. Thanks for all that. That was all some really great advice. But I don't know about the rest of you, but as Jesse was talking, she just really struck a chord with me when she said we value curiosity and passion. I thought that was so good that I'm going to say to everybody watching us right now, if you haven't done it already, go to Twitter. And I don't care if you hashtag WTF20, but make sure you identify Jesse as the author of that quote and let the community know that we value curiosity and passion, because I buy into that big time. That was really awesome. I love that phrase. Just struck a chord with me, and maybe I'm the only one, but that's all right. I'm the host of the show. So I want to say thank you to everybody that's watching, and thank you to all of you for participating, taking the time out of your lives to say to this whole group, hey, we're all still out here. COVID's going to go away eventually. We're all still out here, and we're all still working, and we're here for you. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules, because I know I've talked to so many in the wireless profession that said my life has gotten even busier since all of this happened. So thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to come and visit with us today. And we really do appreciate it. So all of you, take care of yourselves and be safe, okay?
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Tom.
everyone.
With over 9 billion wireless devices on the market, Wi-Fi is one of the most critical assets in today's workplace. Fast, reliable Wi-Fi saves lives, enables retail sales, helps manufacturers stay on deadline, keeps warehouses organized, and empowers the mobile workforce. So when your Wi-Fi is having issues, it can be a huge strain on productivity. 7Signal proactively monitors your Wi-Fi network and wireless devices and alerts you when there's trouble before the help desk is called. The 7Signal platform offers two module solutions. First is Mobile Eye software, which runs on the wireless device and monitors end-user experience looking for problems with adapters and drivers, roaming, adjacent and co-channel interference coverage, and congestion. The second solution, Sapphire Eye, is an AP-agnostic sensor that monitors the Wi-Fi network from the outside in with a full spectrum analyzer, finding problems with network services, WLAN configuration, and co-channel interference coverage and congestion. Both modules store up to 3 months of data, giving you an accurate picture of the network's historical performance. With over 4 million wireless devices monitored daily, 7Signal has helped enterprise-level organizations resolve Wi-Fi performance issues before they become a major problem. Contact 7Signal, the leader in wireless network monitoring, to schedule your free demo.